In 2010, the turmoil of Euroland dissolution has created new security hazards in Europe. General Prokhorov, a former head of KGB, was elected president of Russia and immediately called into question the independence of former Soviet republics and East European nations. As a part of a UN scheme to ease the Russian economic crisis, a U.S. expedition arrives in Yakutsk in central Siberia to assess the natural resources available at this area. The expedition makes a startling discovery, a hitherto unknown mineral with strange physical and chemical properties. The mineral is called Siberium.
Maybe I should introduce myself first. My name is John Macmillan. I am 35, single, and without relatives. This is one of the reasons I was chosen for this very special mission. A mission from which there will be no coming back. I was briefed by Colonel Marcus in Fort Sam Houston, Texas. It turned out that the State Department has long been in possession of a functional time machine. They call it Eon. And apparently they were too afraid to use it. Until now. We were to be sent 500,000 years back to the past, in central Siberia, to mine there a new mineral dubbed Siberium that was just discovered and bring it to U.S. soil. The situation is critical, the colonel told me. Russians may learn about it any time. We must act now. If the Russians get hold of Siberium, the whole world will be powerless to stop them. The voyage into the past is uneventful. The Eon looks very much like a telephone booth. It was placed in a low-flying aircraft some 500 feet above the ground. You step in, they close the door, you have the sickening feeling of free fall, flash, and you're falling for real. We're using planes because nobody knows for sure the level of the terrain in 500,000 BC, and we don't want to emerge 6 feet underground. So far, so good. I opened the parachute and landed softly, but it was the last thing that went according to plan. I knew that there would be no welcoming committee. I knew that it may be a few days' walk to our base, if there is any base. But I didn't know that our base would be under siege, and I definitely didn't know that the past is filled with bloodthirsty Russians that are out to get us. And we weren't even issued combat weapons. We only had some guns for hunting and a few sidearms.
The Eon was discovered by George H. Emerson and his staff from Russian Railway Service Corps in 1919, near the site of the Tunguska explosion. Eon was covertly transported to the U.S., where it underwent scientific examination. The machine carried a supply of its own fuel, but the supply was greatly diminished during the experiments conducted between 1920 and 1925. The efforts to synthesize the fuel or understand the Eon construction failed, and the machine was stored for future reference. It was a lucky coincidence that the Siberium was very soon recognized as the Eon fuel. This discovery made the whole expedition possible, and indeed, inevitable.
Today I was promoted. It was no great ceremony. We didn't bring any spare medals. And Ron told me to secure section N09 because our soothsayers predict a landing in 2 hours' time. We are but one of the search groups being sent out to recover the shipment sent to us, because we can't tell yet where they are going to land. Ron also told me that I can pick 5 men to take with me. It didn't take me too long. Bob used to be a Marine, and he is still the best with guns. Nick used to be a mining engineer, but he is also a great marksman. Al is the best driver we have. And Toby is one of the few people who actually do what they were trained to do. She is a physician. Last but not least is Mike the Ape Man, a native inhabitant of this time and place who is renowned for his superior strength and stamina. We are ready to go in a few minutes, and we leave while the morning mist is still thick. I have been lucky to come roughly 1 year after the first Americans. Instead of pristine beauty of a country hitherto untouched by man, they were staring into the barrels of Russian guns. It must have been really tough then, and it is nothing short of a miracle that Ron managed to gather the scattered Americans and set up the expedition base. A major feat was befriending the Ape Men, something achieved by our scientists. Without them, we'd be as good as dead a long time ago. From time to time, we managed to capture some Russians. Their mission was to keep Siberium here. But what they were telling us seemed mighty strange. They'd never heard about Hitler or Kennedy. The world they came from had never seen World War II, and the USSR was no superpower there. They knew Siberium, but they called it Alaskanium, and considered the 1887 barter the biggest fraud in the world. Some people say that it is the proof that our mission will eventually succeed, but I'm not that sure. Then again, it is good to have some hopes and dreams.
The decision to send the expedition was made in haste, and there was little time for usual preparations. Scientists knew that the temporal scattering, the precision of their machine, was as low as 1,000%. Still, over the period of 500,000 years, this translates into 5 years, and it is impossible to tell who will come first and who comes last. Also, everything that was to be sent to the past must have fitted into the eon, and there was no way to send a message back to the present if something was missing. The spatial scattering amounted to roughly 15 miles. This means that a shipment could appear anywhere within a 15-mile radius of the present position of the eon.
It is an eerie feeling to be locked 500,000 years in the past, long before the first human appeared on the face of the earth. We were riding in our makeshift transport past herds of grazing mammoths through the endless stretch of grass dotted by occasional rocks and trees. At the first glance, everything was so quiet. We noticed the ambush before they had seen us. Al skidded to a halt and we jumped out with our arms ready. I ordered Bob and Nick to advance north to create diversions, and Mike and me were to circle south to get to the site. Al and Toby stayed here. We need no heroes, I reminded them sternly. We need you to stay alive. 10 minutes later, Bob opened fire. We ran for our lives to the site, hoping like hell that our prognosticators got the timing correctly. And they did. A blinding flash, a deafening roar, and the familiar wooden crate with U.S. Army stenciled all over it parachuted toward us. We wasted no time in grabbing the box. I threw some smoke grenades and we limped back to the transport. Al rode ahead to meet us, but when we made it to him, there was no sign of Toby. Nick bought it. Al answered our silent question. But there was no time. The enemy was closing fast on us and we had to run. Fortunately, they had no vehicles, and so we could circle round on them and come near the hiding spot of the rest of our team. Toby was kneeling over Nick. Bob was recharging his gun. "Come here," I shouted as we drove closer. Toby glanced at Nick. Then she quickly administered a dose of morphine, took his gun, and ran for a transport. Bob followed suit. "He won't die. He won't die," repeated Toby over and over. "They might save him." It was just another day in paradise turned hell. We have just returned to our base, and we are going to open the crate we brought. I'm standing here thinking about Nick, a good man and a friend of mine. What can we find inside that crate that will make it all worthwhile?